It's been over a year since the former cricketer turned politician Imran Khan became Pakistan's Prime Minister. During his campaign, Mr. Khan promised to turn around the country's economy. But the fight to ease inflation has not been an easy one. The Pakistani rupee lost 35% of its value during Khan's first year in office. And despite some encouraging news from the International Monetary Fund, many are still struggling as a result of the weak economy. Pakistan's location brings a lot of opportunity as well as challenges. A lot of hope has been put on its agreement with China to set up an economic corridor. But it's not clear if the ambitious project will be beneficial to both sides. Relations with the other big neighbour, India, have been strained in recent months after New Delhi revoked the autonomy of Indian-administered Kashmir. There's also been tension over India's controversial citizenship law that many say discriminates against Muslims. And Islamabad will also be looking to see how the recently signed deal between the US and the Afghan Taliban will impact on its policies. We'll put these questions to its top diplomat. Pakistan's Foreign Minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, talks to Al Jazeera. Mr. Qureshi, welcome to Talk to Al Jazeera. Is Pakistan now in the driving seat when it comes to the outside world's relationship with the Taliban?
Well, Pakistan has played the role of a facilitator. Pakistan, as you know, has suffered a lot because of the situation in the region. We've paid a huge price in human terms and in economic terms, and we have always been advocating that there is no military solution to the Afghan conflict. What you need is a negotiated political settlement. We are glad that the world has finally converged to that point of view. I think the world should have listened to us earlier and done what it's doing today. Sit across the table and find a solution, find a political solution. We are happy that is happening, and we have honestly and with good faith contributed to that movement.
It looks increasingly, examining what he's been saying, as if the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is beginning to really trust the Taliban. Do you trust the Taliban?
I think the Taliban, they're very savvy and they're shrewd. And they are not just good fighters, they are tough negotiators. And even before the talks began, the reality was, and let's recognize the reality, that despite the world's attention and the financial contributions, the Taliban was still controlling a good 40-45% of the Afghan territory. So they're a reality, and you have to deal with that reality. I hope they once they've agreed, they will honor their agreement, and one expects them to, both sides, the US and the Taliban, to honor what they are signing.
There was, however, an op-ed recently in the New York Times from the Haqqani network. It raised eyebrows in the State Department in Washington. They take their cue, it is claimed, from your government.
They're independent. They take no cues from no one. They have independent minds, and they have their own vision of what they want Afghanistan to look like. All we have said that, listen, this cannot go on forever. You cannot keep fighting forever. They've also fought, and they've also have lost many people. They're also fatigued. So there's a new reality that has dawned. Every war has come to an end. The world has been in conflicts in the past. Even the world wars couldn't go on forever. Ultimately, there was a solution. There was a negotiated settlement. And that, I think, they have realized. They have realized, they know their strengths, and they also realize that Afghanistan is not the same place. It's different. In the last so many years, in the last 19, 20 years, things have changed. There have been 3 elections over there. There have been parliamentary elections over there. There have been presidential elections over there. You have seen a new empowered class over there. So these new realities, they also have to compromise with.
Does that mean that you are quite happy for the Taliban to move from being, quotes, terrorists to being politicians? Because there will come a point, surely, during this process where they will have real political power, but they won't have stood for political office at that point. And that might be a template that the Taliban in Pakistan would like to see happen for them as well.
The point is, we've been telling them that they must come into the mainstream, give up the gun and come into the mainstream. And if you have a point of view which the people of Afghanistan buy, test it. And the best way of testing that is through the ballot box.
Your critics might say this is really about India and about Pakistan's relationship with India, because down the line, if you have traction with the Taliban in Pakistan, in a positive sense as far as they're concerned, you therefore by definition have traction with the Taliban in Afghanistan. If you then, as a country, have a footprint in Kabul, you have to make sure that Afghanistan, or you would make sure that Afghanistan doesn't play nicey-nicey with the Indians and they share a border.
What we want is peace and stability in Afghanistan, because we feel if there's peace and stability in Afghanistan, Pakistan stands to gain. As I said earlier on, that we've suffered a lot in human and in economic terms. Then there are opportunities that have been lost. We feel that today, if there's peace, Pakistan stands to gain. How? If there's reconstruction in Afghanistan, we contribute. We have a huge potential of bilateral trade with Afghanistan. And with peace and stability in Afghanistan, we get access into the Central Asian republics. We are an energy deficient country. We can have the Tapi gas pipeline coming down to Pakistan and fulfilling our requirements. We can have the CASA 1000 electricity coming into Pakistan that we need, affordable electricity, affordable gas. A new area opens up to us, regional connectivity. And then with the development of the Gwadar port, we feel landlocked countries of Central Asia, Afghanistan, get an opportunity of promoting economic activity in their countries.
But when you talk about that port, that's interesting that you mentioned that. China is building roads for you as well. China is building that port. But it's so much more than a port. Your critics might say it's actually a Chinese foothold in Pakistan.
China and Pakistan have a long-tested relationship. They have stood with Pakistan through thick and thin. What we are trying to do now is we are trying to, as they have economically developed and have now the technology and the cash, we are trying to build a new economic partnership with China. Costs have gone up in China, and we feel a lot of their labor-intensive industry can be relocated into Pakistan. When the world moved away, they stepped in to invest in Pakistan, and we are happy about it. We feel that it's a win-win situation for both sides. So we gain, they gain, the region gains.
But doesn't it mean that you tilt, if you tilt towards having good relationships with Beijing, you are so far under the umbrella of the Chinese government that you can't, in effect, do what you need to do? Because from a fiscal point of view, your economy is in a mess. You need somebody's money, be it the Chinese or the Saudis or indeed the IMF. 2 seconds, please. You've got money from the IMF, but everyone says the same thing. Imran Khan waited too long. For some reason that only Mr. Khan knows, he waited too long to go to the IMF and say, yes, I need some financial help.
Why did we take time? Because the gap, the resource gap was huge. And the bigger the gap, the tougher the conditionalities of IMF would have been. So we did go to friendly countries, and we are grateful to friendly countries like Saudi Arabia, like UAE and Qatar, who stood by us, who've helped us. Now, we have negotiated a new stabilization program with the IMF. They've just done their second review. They've gone back comfortable. We are fulfilling the conditions that we had agreed upon. It's a tough stabilization program. We had to increase prices of electricity, of gas, and we are facing the political brunt of that. But we feel that we have to do the right things. We cannot let our economic indicators go haywire. When we came into office, all our economic indicators were pointing in the wrong direction.
But when you say when we came into office, since Imran Khan came into office, since you came into office, according to the IMF, inflation is now at a 10-year high, and you're borrowing more money to clear old debts. That is unsustainable, not least because, Imran Khan, before the election, Imran Khan said, I will get rid of taxation corruption, tax corruption. What's the point in talking even about that as an entree to becoming Prime Minister if only 1% of your population actually pay income tax?
Well, we're trying to broaden the base. And in the last year and a half, the people who are filing their tax returns has more than doubled. No previous government could do that, one. Number two, the exchange rate was artificially pegged. It was not linked to the market. We've done a realistic thing. We have made it more market linked. That is why the dollar has gone up and the rupee has gone down, but it's also helping exports. And our exports, we inherited a historic trade deficit. Now our exports have started picking up because of this new adjustment. Inflation is high. I absolutely agree with you, it's high. But we are trying to fix it. We are trying to decelerate in order to stabilize. And once we are stabilized, then we would want to, and as the inflation rate comes gradually down, we want to revisit our interest rates. And once the interest rates go down, they will have an impact on private sector borrowing and an impact on inflation.
Where do you see the relationship with Saudi Arabia going now? Because Imran Khan was in effect, your government was in effect rebuffed, because over the issue of Kashmir, he reached out to the Saudis with a view to getting people to talk about Kashmir. And that relationship between Islamabad and New Delhi has been tinderbox dangerously dry for a generation now.
Well, what we've been doing is we've been talking to the OIC, and we feel the atrocities that have been committed in the Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir need their attention. The OIC has been speaking about this issue. There's a history, there are resolutions, there's a record. So it's time to speak up. And that is why we are asking our Saudi friends and other friends in the Ummah to speak up, because this is the just cause. Speak up for the voiceless. And today, the Kashmiris are voiceless. There's a clampdown, there's a siege, there's a lockdown. A journalist like you cannot enter Srinagar. You will not be allowed. Parliamentarians, independent parliamentarians, not allowed. The chair of the All Parties Parliamentary Committee on Kashmir in the House of Commons was deported from Delhi. Independent people, independent observers are not allowed in. So, human rights violations have touched a new level, and that is why it is being now discussed in the US Congress, it's being discussed in the European Parliament, it's being discussed in the House of Commons, and it's been discussed in the Human Rights Council in Geneva.
But that's not quite to answer my question, sir. My question was to do about the relationship between Imran Khan and Saudi Arabia, primarily as a dynamic because of the relationship between Pakistan and India. And can I suggest to you that...
Can I answer that? I think Pakistan today is in a unique position. Pakistan is in a unique position because we have excellent relations with all Muslim countries. Saudi Arabia is one of them. UAE is another one. And Qatar, even excellent relations. They are expressing an interest in investments in Pakistan, in helping Pakistan develop its tourism sector. So we are happy. Allowing more Pakistanis into Qatar, we can contribute. You know, there's going to be a World Cup here, and we feel that we can contribute there, and we can also contribute to Qatar's food security.
But you also have to allow or to get more Pakistanis into Qatar, surely, because Saudi Arabia is basically getting rid of Pakistani doctors because the Saudi authorities have stopped recognizing the certification that Pakistani doctors have in Pakistan.
It is not Pakistan specific. That's a thing that is, it's across the board. It's not that they are identifying and picking on Pakistanis, no.
If you have good relations with all the main Muslim countries, what can you do, what can you bring to the table to do with the relationship that's focused in on the GCC blockade, driven by the Saudis of Qatar?
We would want to help remove the misunderstandings. Qatar has been an important player in the GCC, right? And Qatar has also faced and continues to face a blockade, right? What Pakistan can do, is willing to do, is to bridge the gap, to tell brothers and friends, listen, sit and talk, and we can, if we can help, we'll be more than happy to assist and help. Because we feel that the Middle East and the Gulf has seen enough of conflict, and unity and a coherence is important to achieve what they want to achieve: peace, stability.
What about proliferation? When people think about the relationship between Pakistan and India, they think about danger, they think about, as I said before, a tinderbox situation, they think about nuclear weapons, they think about anger. I mean, granted, Imran Khan, since he got the top job, has been sending out signals of being more conciliatory, particularly towards Narendra Modi.
When we came into office, what was the first signal we sent? You take one step towards peace, we will take two. Who rebuffed us? India. We've been waiting. We've given them the opportunity to engage. But unfortunately, we thought it's the politics of India, it's the elections that is, they are showing this reluctance. But now we realize it's not just politics, it's the new Hindutva philosophy that has overtaken Delhi. And they are being governed by a group of people who believe in supremacy, and racialism. And that approach, and that is why they have taken the steps that they have taken on the 5th of August, which have been rejected not just by Pakistan, they have been rejected by all shades of Kashmiri opinion, right? So, what we are telling the world, listen, things are getting from bad to worse. Two nuclearly armed states cannot go into a conflict. It'll be suicidal, and it's not just suicidal, it'll have a global impact. So you cannot shove things under the carpet. This is an internationally recognized dispute. You cannot look the other way because of political expediency and the commercial interest and the big Indian market. Fine, you have a right to trade with them, you have a right to make investments, but you cannot ignore and overlook an internationally recognized dispute. You cannot shove those Security Council resolutions under the carpet, because that's a reality. And that is what the Secretary General has just said. He pronounced, the measures were announced on the 5th of August. On the 8th of August, he pronounced, listen, this is where the UN stands.
Is your goodwill, is your country's goodwill towards that, let's call it a peace process, in inverted commas, when you talk about you make one overture to India, they respond positively, then you make two steps in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Goodwill is a diminishing resource, though. There must come a point when you think, okay, Mr. Modi's got his BJP agenda. That's his critics would say that's partly why he's being criticised just now over this new citizenship legislation that's causing trouble on the streets of Delhi. What's your official stance, say, on the citizenship law?
it is discriminatory, and this has made the 200 million Muslims in India insecure, and the fear of being stateless. Close to 2 million people in Assam are more or less stateless because of the new NRC approach that the Indians have adopted. And not just Muslims, minorities like Sikhs, like Buddhists, like Jains, even lower caste Hindus like Dalits are insecure. And what you saw in the last, and what you are seeing in Delhi today, is like almost like a genocide. And the world, many in the world are keeping quiet over it.
People are also looking in on your relationship with China to do with a very current issue. Why is it you've left Pakistanis in China with the coronavirus doing what it's doing? People are saying you should have taken those people back to Pakistan, but instead, for some reason, you've decided to leave them where they are.
One, we were following the instructions of WHO, an international organization. We were following the instructions of the NIH, which is, it's a technical issue, right? It's a health issue. We have to go by international standards. And thirdly, when we calculated, we came to the conclusion that what the Chinese were offering was giving them the treatment that is required, and they committed to Prime Minister Khan, the President of China, President Xi Jinping, that they will be treated like our own because of the special relationship we had with Pakistan. We feel they're being looked after there. We are doing whatever we can. They made a special concession. 2 of our diplomats were allowed into Wuhan. They've gone and engaged with students, met with them, reassured them. And Pakistan is also expressing solidarity with China, because China has taken on this challenge in a very, very brave manner, and we wish them success. And I'm sure they will succeed in defeating coronavirus. We have to be cognizant. We also have to see the facilities available in Pakistan. We have seen Iran being affected in a major way. We've sealed our traffic between to and fro from Iran and Pakistan. The border has been closed. Why? To protect people, to protect our people, to protect our children in Pakistan and families in Pakistan.
Could it be that you are stretching yourself as a government so thin in so many different areas, and when it comes to the next election, people vote with their pocketbooks. They vote on the bread and butter issues. So when it comes to being re-elected, few, if any, prime ministers or presidents get re-elected on the state of the economy as it stands at the moment in Pakistan. Are you confident that the next time you have to go to the people will say, yes, that's the government for us one more time?
The people of Pakistan are not fools. They have seen the economic condition that we inherited. They knew the amount of corruption, the amount of money siphoned off through money laundering, the way people parked money in Switzerland, in bank accounts abroad, and building properties outside the country. That is why they rejected the established parties, and that is why they gave this new party a chance, because there's credibility here. And they also realize that the decisions that we are taking, which are difficult ones, they're hurting people, the ordinary people, salaried classes. There was no choice left. We had to take these painful decisions in the hope that the economy at the end of the term, the economy will start moving up, and people would realize that we have restructured the economy, we have undertaken reforms, and their future is more secure.
You've been round the block as foreign minister more than once or twice. At some point in the future, will we maybe be talking about potential Prime Minister Qureshi?
Well, we have total confidence in what Imran Khan is doing. He's doing a great job. He is the chairman of my party, and I am his number 2, his vice captain, his vice chairman, and I'm happy what I'm doing.
I'll take that as a yes then. Mr. Qureshi, thank you so much for talking to Al Jazeera. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.